Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment. Norwich City 2, Everton 1. Everton embarrassed themselves again under Rafa Benitez, and as we know now, it's turned out to be the last straw, thank God. But I mean, not without putting us through 90 minutes of pain first. You know, it was an absolute embarrassment. Norwich hadn't scored for about 10 hours of football.
They hadn't scored since the back end of November, when of course it was against Eddie Howe's Newcastle.
That's me. And now, that enough it's damning, isn't it? You can see why we've ended up where we are, and to be only 9 points ahead of Norwich now, we're only 6 off relegation zone now, I think. It tells you all you need to know. That performance was a relegation performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there's no mincing me words anymore or beating around the bush. Everton are fully blown in a relegation battle this season now. If it wasn't sort of confirmed before, it definitely is now. Norwich, I believe, are comfortably the worst team in the Premier League even still. And they beat us without even having to overexert themselves in their performance. They worked hard, they got men behind the ball, and they had a threat from the break. But Everton were just so out of ideas, out of character, out of fight. It is incredible. We talk about Rafa Benitez, but the nail in the coffin was that team selection. Andre Gomez in a 4-4-2. He deserved to be sacked before we even took to the pitch with that.
Do you remember the restart after lockdown? We got hammered every game when we did that. I mean, anyone.
Yeah, we hadn't. Well, the excuse then was at least, well, we've been playing the 4-4-2 and it's been working. We've been getting points and we've got no midfielders. Rafa Benitez had no excuse yesterday because we've been playing 2 in midfield and it hasn't worked all season. And we've got Andre Gomez available, not to Barry in the midfield. We had Decore asking about doing about 3 people's jobs. Gomez just lolling about, and we were just so wide open. It was unbelievable. And then we had Rondon. I didn't notice it at the time, but now I've looked back at the highlights and I hear what people said. He was playing as like a withdrawn striker role, like a Shevchenko. Rondon, he's a big rock, isn't he?
Well, like some sort of like Toffee type role, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was lost on me what he was doing with Rondon. And then we had Calvert-Lewin, who still doesn't look up to it in terms of Premier League match fitness up front. And we decided to play Ben Godfrey at right back at the end instead of bringing Nathan Patterson on, who he's just spent 15 million quid on. We had the left back who was hung out to dry and was, if I'm being honest, horrific. He just got absolutely battered down their side all afternoon. Michalenko, Michael Keane, he must have had a fiver on him to be the next manager to be sacked because, God, he was as bad as he's ever been. And Godfrey just wasn't great either. And then Gordon, he ran out of steam like he normally does after about an hour. Gray, he had to go, but there's just so many issues in this team that the manager just didn't seem to recognise or to want to. It was like he came to Everton to relegate them, because I can't possibly think of another reason why he's been so bad. After, okay, I've always thought he was overrated as a manager, Rafa Benitez. Don't get me wrong. He
wasn't that bad, was he?
He's never been this bad. Come on, this is like if Owen Coyle turned up for 6 months. This is just ridiculous. And he's paid the price, and rightly so, but it's left us in another horrific position because Farhad Moshiri and Bill Kenwright do not have a clue how to run Everton, and that's the top and bottom of it. But
we've got plenty of time in the podcast to discuss that.
Yeah, we've got all night for that. But on the game, it was embarrassing. It was a joke. Only one who seemed arse was Pickford, and the rest of them just sort of they didn't want the manager to be there, and they got the way now. But they're a gang of shithouses also. Benitez have slagged off for months. But
we've discussed the manager.
Don't take anything away.
We'll obviously be discussing managers a lot in the next hour or so, but the players have got to be ashamed of themselves. I mean, we're not just talking about Benitez here, we're talking about managers that they have thrown under the bus. I think, for me, Michael Keane stands out like a sore thumb because he's been there for the sacking of about 5 of them now.
Do you know what? I've never had Michael Keane down as a shithouse, because if he was a shithouse, he wouldn't have got into a Dyche team for so long as he did. But he's just, I'm fully convinced now that he's an absolute shithouse. What was he doing? It's just embarrassing. He's embarrassing defending on Saturday. Adam Eder, I could mark Adam Eder, he's shite. And he just let him run off him all afternoon. Absolutely woeful. And Coleman, the superb servant we've got as captain, he must just be brain dead. He just literally mustn't have the brains to play football anymore. Some of the passing he tries, it's physically beyond his reach. Horrific. And I feel sorry for Takore, because he reminds me a bit when we had Garner in midfield, and Garner, God love him, did everyone's job, but Takore does that at Everton, because we've just got a bunch of bloody bin men in midfield next to him who can't move.
I mean, some of them belong in the bin. I don't know, bin men.
Not having to go at bin men, more talking about the level of ability to play football.
Yeah, the bin men should be taking a couple of those players out and dropping them in the landfill, to be honest.
And then, like I just said, Gordon was visibly knackered. And we had El Ghazi and Townsend, Terry's favourite Townsend, on the bench. And neither of them came on to replace him, even though he was absolutely done. He was done on 60 minutes. Both wingers were, to be fair. They were both losing ideas. They should have swapped them both. Oh, embarrassing football manager. The worst manager to ever take control of Everton, especially in my lifetime. And it looks like we're getting the second worst to replace him.
Yeah, plenty of time to discuss that. Just a couple more. We'll keep this one very brief. I think everyone knows what we want to be discussing on this podcast. So we'll fly through the Norwich game in terms of like the issue. I think a lot of this is a good opportunity to sort of, to be honest, berate the players, because we spent so long berating the manager in recent weeks that the players have got off a bit lightly, to be honest. But you mentioned some of them. I mean, one of whom, Rondon was brought in by the manager and was just not fit for purpose.
Not a footballer in freaking hell. Am I the only? Rondon, to me, doesn't look capable of playing in League One. Never mind the Premier League. I used to think he was good at West Brom when he was there with Tony Pulis years ago, and when I watched him, I thought he got something about him. He's at least a presence. But every time I've seen him since, he doesn't even look like he could play in the Championship.
Just like the manager, there's a reason he was where he was. Do you get many top players from China? Do you get many players from China, period? He's absolutely... He's shite. He's utter shite, and he's been shite for ages. And we brought him in, and all the idiots were like, he's just a sub, it'll be fine. Well, now he's played about friggin' 20 games, and he's been shitting practically every one of them.
Yeah, he got a goal against Crystal Palace, don't discount that.
Oh, I had to put that in.
He was playing, number 10 against Norwich?
Yes, he was like a withdrawn striker, like he was playing in Ancelotti's Milan.
He's about him and Keane and Coleman were the most experienced players on the pitch, and all three of them were just big stiff idiots who can't move. And Michael Keane, if I had my way, I'd come in as manager, and I'd never let him play for the club again. I wouldn't go like NAS levels with Koeman, but he only gets
no business playing for Everton anymore.
He only gets in because he's never injured. He's the only player in the whole squad who doesn't pick up injuries regularly.
He doesn't get injured because he never puts a tackle in.
Up until Saturday, I've been defending Michael Keane because I like him ultimately, but no, he was absolute shithouse on Saturday.
I think same as against Hull. We played a much, quote unquote lesser team and didn't look any better than them. So these players have got to have a long look at themselves, because frankly, you can't be blaming, even though he was poor, the likes of Michaelenko, who's just come into the league after 7 weeks playing. And
I wasn't having a go. I was just
I know, but he has a shocking game. But it's like they're the ones who should be exempt from any. Like Gordon, he gassed out eventually. Tamari Gray, he needs to learn to pass the ball sometimes, but he's the only one who's having a go this season and looks like he's should be in the Premier League. All the others, what are they doing? Like you said to Corey, it's just like Does he just drive the team coach home as well? They get him to do everything else. He's the players have got another manager sack. Now this time, no one's upset by that because no one likes the manager.
That's who the manager was, though.
Yeah, he was creating a lot of the problems. But how many managers have some of these players been through, and they've not turned up for them, or they only turn up for a little bit and then go back to their level? Some of them, the days are numbered. Sure, should be days numbered at Everton, I swear to God. But they'll probably all get frigging executive roles in a year or two. Second they retire, they'll be on the Everton board. Michael Keane will be the next director of football. No, in this club.
Honestly, I never thought I would be in this position. And I knew Everton weren't well run, but a year after being in the top four and challenging for Europe, I didn't think so quickly we'd be battling relegation, because we were battling relegation before last season as well. It's been like a constant theme with the Machiri era, where we're all suddenly talking about relegation every 18 months. It's ridiculous. And
it tells you a lot about his tenure as owner.
He's a failure. He's failed in running Everton. People should have sussed him out as soon as he was trying to lump 20 million quid at Watford for Marco Silva, who'd done a tap. As soon as he was trying to do that, just because a couple of his mates told him he was going to be the next Pep, we should have started really, being worried about this, because that's not what sensible people do. Sensible people just don't do things because they're told by people who are trying to make money out of them. It's unbelievable. But like I said, none of them go on the pitch as the players, and it is just baffling how characterless some of them are. I think it's easy to talk about character and not systems and such like, but I do think on Saturday, a fully motivated team who are willing to give everything beat Norwich, because it's proven not to be that difficult to beat Norwich City.
It isn't.
And I'm putting it squarely on the players not being asked, and the manager, who was a crank, but the players as well.
So with that in mind, obviously we will discuss who the manager's going to be, but what do these players have to do next to
They have to start rolling the sleeves up and realising that they will be the group of players responsible for relegating Everton. It may not be this season, I think it could be, but within the next 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, I fully believe Everton will be playing Championship football, unless something, I don't know, changes or a mentality shift, not just amongst the players or management, but boardroom level. And especially on the players, they're just so brainless and so pathetic. And it's not just Rafa Benitez who they've just bailed on, so they can't use the excuse, we didn't like Rafa. It was Marco Silva's. As soon as he walked through the door, they weren't having him by the looks of it. They might have liked him, actually, but they didn't respect him and they didn't run through brick walls for him. Ronald Koeman, the players were with him then, weren't asked about him. Sam Allardyce, he got them by the scruff of the neck and got eighth, but didn't particularly like him. And I was at a similar situation with Carlo. We got them by the scruff of the neck to get points, but they really they should have been pinching themselves every day when he was at the football club. But it's just so brainless and so insular that they probably didn't even know who he was. It's just, we've got another manager to throw under the bus. How quick can we get the next one? Then Benitez comes in, albeit he hasn't helped himself, but they just threw him under the bus as well. They're embarrassing. And this isn't one player who've been there from the start. It's a mentality and a culture of players. It's the type of players we bring in, and they're all embarrassing. And it needs to shift quickly in terms of the type of player. And it might be now, I don't know, but it doesn't look like it to me.
I mean, we can see what happens. I think the recruitment, to be honest, has probably been better this season so far, for the most part.
No, I don't agree with that personally, but
I think Rondon aside, maybe.
Townsend's rubbish. Begovic can't save his bloody wallet. Mikhalenko, it's too early to say. I wasn't impressed when he was at Ukraine personally, but to me, I haven't seen Patterson could be good.
Ratson and Brantwaite are Brand's picks. El Ghazi is
I am as well.
Mashiri and Juraban pick. And then, other than Damari Gray, Benitez brought a few scruffy mates with him. So I don't see how it's any different. It's still different people signing different players. It's no better or worse. It's just exactly the same. In fact, I'd say it's even a bit worse because we're getting absolute binheads like Rondon.
That's right, though. Damari Gray, fair enough, he's proven me wrong because I grouped him in with the Lookmans of this world when he was being sort of sold to us that he'd been around the houses and done very much, but he's come in and he's been fantastic, and I'd be putting a new contract in front of him to keep him with the football club.
No. He signed a 5-year one when he came, and this is what we did. Yeah,
we gave him a 5-year deal. Well.
This is what we did with that would be if we did that. What we did with Holgate. Can't sign to give someone a new contract after the purple patch. He's got to prove that he can do it more than one spell first. If he's still like this
more
next
than one season for me.
I thought he'd only got like a 2-year contract, so I apologise and take that back. I thought if he was on a short-term contract, which would have made sense considering his record, I'd been looking to extend it.
If he's still on fire late into next season, then you can start thinking about it. But no, not off a purple patch, because look at some of the players we've had who put their feet up the second they get a new deal.
Too many.
Yeah, I thought he was on a lot shorter of a deal.
Yeah, I think that's something to be very cautious of. Sorry, go on, Owen.
No, I was saying, Gray, that I thought he was on like a 2-year deal because that's the kind of thing that would have made sense when you'd bought someone who'd been round the house and hadn't done very much. But we give him a 5-year deal just says a lot. But he got lucky with it, so yeah, don't give him a new deal.
Yeah, I think, to be quite honest, that is one of the biggest issues I think we've had. We always talk about bad recruitment and stuff, but I think the players who are actually at the club, I think the fact we throw 4 or 5-year contracts in front of them as soon as they have a good run of form is a ridiculous strategy.
James McCarthy got a new 2-year deal every year, didn't he? So
half the time he couldn't walk.
But the recruitment, we haven't even got a director of football or scout, so why are we talking about recruitment? Only Duncan left, isn't it? Duncan, Alan Kelly. They're going to do it all. We do actually block Keir Joroban, so that's all right.
Yeah, Keir Joroban will do the scouting. I think Duncan will have to be the new physio or something. I don't know.
We've had more injuries since the apparently terrible medical team was sacked. That's interesting. Gone well for you, Rafa, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we're going to focus on Rafa anyway, because we'll wrap this one up.
Let's get on to him.
Yeah, let's get get our teeth sunk into this one. We'll finish up the Norwich preview, guys, and let us know your opinion on the game if you dare. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content. Until then, guys, till next time, thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues.